Welcome to week 7 of Sailor Jerry Saturday podcast. I got Keith Kwasigroch.
What's up, everybody?
He is somewhere in the middle of nowhere. That makes sense. And then I got Nikko. He's getting a little bit older. Velazquez.
He's a big boy now.
And myself, Jacob Carocci. Let's get it on the show. All right. So, for the first topic of the day, we are going to, as we always, review the week 6 matchups, see how everything played out, go over the current standings, and then we will also go over our predictions. So, see what our records are. Now, first I want to quickly review the standings. Do a little bit different this week, but my boy Nikko, he is in first place. And Keith went down to second. 1-2 over here. Jeez, you guys are really holding down the podcast. You know, I'm nowhere to be found to the bottoms. Then we got Casey, Billy, Jimmy, Trickus. Those are the top 6. So if we're to end today, that would be the playoffs with Nikko and Keith with a bye. Then we have Grown Outdoor, Trim Quinto, myself, and Basla. So those are the current standings through 6 weeks. Nobody's undefeated and nobody's defeated. So looks like a pretty even league so far. Who knows what's going to happen? There's still a lot of different ways it can play out. But the first matchup I want to review that I went over last week was Nikko against Basla, Seabass against Sean Archer. And I actually had Sean Archer winning in this one. He did not win. He lost.
He did not. No, he lost.
Nikko actually put up the highest score of the week. He put up 164, and Basla had 117. So that pretty much puts Nikko in first place with a loss by Keith, and then Basla's 1-5 now, so he's in 12th place. But pretty much everything that I said was going to happen except one thing, and that's why he went off, and that was his running back, Nikko's running backs. They actually both did really, really well this week. I said Lamar Jackson would beat out Carson Wentz. He did. I had the wide receivers for Nikko, and he went off. They both went off. Odell actually did something. Finally broke 100 yards for you. And then Julian Edelman against the Giants. I just knew that was going to be easy matchup. But I picked the running backs for Sean Archer specifically because of Zeke. I said it'd be the first time getting over 20 this year. He did. He got 24.63, but Melvin Gordon was really a no-show. I don't know what they're going on with the Chargers. Who knows what they're doing with the running back situation? But Eckler didn't really do that well either. They kind of were non-existent as far as the run game that day. But pretty much James Conner and Chris Carson had both scored, and they had good days. Conner was getting peppered with passes, ended up scoring a reception touchdown as well, and then Chris Carson went over 100 yards and added a couple catches. The one thing that stinks for Nikko is Disley.
Bye.
That was tough.
Threw up a goose egg. Really stinks because tight ends are tough, especially in this league. I know other leagues it might be a little bit easier, but in this league, you have a decent tight end. That's huge. But I had Travis Kelce beating him on anyways, but Kelce had an off day. He only had 4 catches. So that really stinks for him going forward. And then I forget what I had for the flex. I believe I picked James White against the Giants, and he just beat out Tate. Pretty much it was even. Tate actually had a decent day for Cincinnati. They stopped Boyd, and they were just throwing it to Tate, and he had a lot of yards, almost 100, I think. Yeah, 91. And then I had Tucker and New England, and that was the big one. New England against the Giants, and that was huge.
I hate New England so much.
29 points, and that's obviously big, especially for this league. That's a good score in our other league, but this league that's huge. But you hate the Giants, but listen to this, or the Patriots, but listen to who they played: Pittsburgh, Miami, Jets, Buffalo, Redskins, Giants, and they play the Jets this week.
Jeez.
That's the easiest starting schedule, minus Pittsburgh, but obviously we didn't know what they were going to be that down at the beginning of the year. But now looking at it, it makes it even easier. At the beginning, that was a wash. That's 7-0. They're going to be 7-0 going into Cleveland, who's really not that good either. They're all hype. They have a possibility of being 8-0.
They're playing the Jets.
I'll talk about next week.
Oh, yeah. Well, with the way Sam Darnold lit up the Cowboys, I think they have a chance to beat the Patriots with him.
They could. I mean, it is a home game for the Jets. Yeah. They got that going for them. That's Monday night game, so they'll be a primetime Monday night game, so that'll be good. But as far as that goes, they have a chance of being 8-0. So
yeah,
that's obviously huge for any team, but especially the Patriots in that division. They're going to make the playoffs again, and we'll see what happens.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, that's it. That wraps up that review.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and take over. I had the matchup for Blue Jesus Chicken Wang and Crass Rubrout. So two of my roommates actually going head to head back in our Seton Hall days at Niagara.
Seton
Hall. Remember that, dude? We were in a triple, all three of us together. So I got to
good times.
Go over this one here. And for your guys' quarterbacks, dude, Matt Ryan showed up, had himself a day, 30 for 36, 4 yards short of 400, and 4 TDs, and they still lost.
Who they play? The Cardinals?
The Cardinals.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Is that their only win?
They lost on a missed extra point.
It's unreal.
I think that's how it went down.
It's unreal. And then Tom Brady for KC was TB. He gets 2 TDs with his legs. I think that was a big surprise. I don't think anyone would have seen that happening.
As the Sony Michel owner, watching Tom Brady rush twice on the goal line, it's just heartbreaking.
That's tough. And then they also had another running back. What's the guy's name?
Holden.
Yeah, he was getting a lot of touches on the goal line too, man.
That's 1 yard line, and Tom Brady, it was actually the 3, and Tom Brady did a QB sneak twice to score instead of handing it off.
That's great.
And that was good. Keenan Allen for Keith had a quiet day. I think Phillip Rivers was really had a connection going with Mike Williams and Hunter Henry for the most part of the night, and Keenan Allen just had another quiet night. And I have him in the other league, so I feel for you, Keith. It stinks because you're expecting him to just go off every now and then, and it's just been pretty quiet for the past couple of games. Yeah. Then D Hopkins for Casey, same thing, 8 for 88, no touchdowns, decent line, but again, I think you'd expect more from DeAndre Hopkins, especially in that game, Houston, Kansas City. It's going to be, we were all thinking, high point shootout, 45 to 37, 38, who knows, a big score game, and wasn't really lights out as much as I had expected.
What was the final?
What was it,
31-24 Houston.
There, yeah.
31-24. I think that's what around the Vegas odds were. I know it was like 52.
Yeah. And then the wide receiver spot, the number 2 wide receiver spot, Michael Thomas for Keith, continues to underperform in my opinion. But again, Drew Brees isn't under center, so that's expected. I mean, usually Michael Thomas, I had him on my team last year, and I mean every week. But Drew Brees and that connection, it was guaranteed. Putting up huge numbers. So with Bridgewater, he's still doing well. I'm not really seeing those big games out of Michael Thomas. But I think once Drew Brees gets back,
he had 11 for 182 and 2 touchdowns the week before. Buddy.
Oh, well, hey, there you go.
And then I think it might have been Jalen. I don't know. I didn't watch the game, but he just had a mediocre day.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, seeing those days consistently, I think with Drew Brees,
it's
going to be a little bit.
consistent.
Yeah. And then Mike Evans for KC is alive. 17 targets, 9 catches for 96 yards. So had a huge day. Especially. What for this? That's not this week?
No, I'm saying last week he was alive. Who knows what's going to happen this week?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see here. Austin Eckler for Crafts doesn't really, get anything going with the Chargers. They fell behind pretty quickly too against Pittsburgh, and they were really forced to go to the air often. So, and then Melvin Gordon was sort of getting factored in a little bit. I saw a bit of that game. And then Ingram for Casey goes for 74 yards from scrimmage and a TD. So sort of got more points on him there with the little heads up match. Sony for Keith had a decent outing, 86 yards on the ground, 2 receptions compared to Williams for Casey, which, I mean, the only thing that saved his day was that touchdown. Otherwise, his stat sheet literally was 1 rushing attempt for 6 yards and a reception for 14. Without that TD, there's nothing there.
Right.
Battled the 2 solid tight ends. This one was 2 solid tight ends. Usually pretty rare to see that in this league, as you were mentioning beforehand. It's pretty desolate in this league not having those a solid tight ends. So these 2 going, Andrews for Keith 8 for 99, and Kittle for Casey going 8 for 103, and got that 100-yard bonus. I mean, you were literally a yard away, Keith, from getting just a little bit more extra points, just that one more yard, And then the flex battle. Juju, poor Juju.
Poor Juju.
I mean, we all know how good he is. Juju. We all know what he's capable of, but it's just that's the situation. 1 reception for 7 yards. But he does get the Iron Chin Rudolph back. So I think hopefully that's going to help him out.
Hopefully he's not mashed potatoes.
It's so crappy because you can't not play Juju.
I know. Yeah, you have to.
Well, I can this week because it's a bye.
Come on, dude. Grow up, bro.
And then Gallup for Casey has a bit of a better day, scored 7.2 points, going 4 for 48. The kickers were a wash, and then the Tennessee defense for Keith struggled a bit with Denver's O, whereas Blue Jesus and Minnesota's D caused a couple turnovers and put up 5 more points. Ultimately, I was incorrect in this prediction. I took Keith over Casey, and Casey now sits at number 3 with a win, and Keith goes to number 2.
Nice. What was that Tennessee score? 17-0?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Against Broncos?
Denver? Yeah, no, Denver did
16-0. Tennessee's offense is a dumpster fire.
Offense is so bad.
Mariota lost his job.
Did he for real?
Yeah, fire up your Tannehills.
Is Tannehill
Tanny time?
Oh my gosh! I feel bad for my boy D Walker.
I feel bad for anybody who has any Tennessee players anywhere because that offense is like.
What do you think?
Derrick Henry wasn't that bad early on. I mean, it's just same thing though. It's just so topsy turvy with that offense. I dropped Deion. Don't like Corey Davis.
Their offense
is.
Yeah.
They're like they're running like Pop Warner creative like type offense there. Like their offense is so vanilla.
Yeah. Fake handoff, tight end pops.
Yeah, like that's what they do. And I don't think any defense in the league right now is scared of that offense, even with Tannehill in there. So
it's true. Yeah. So I'm gonna head over to the next matchup. I'm gonna go back to back here. This one I had the Juices Loose Billy versus Trim Carpet Munchers. So for this one here, I truly thought Patty Mahomes for Brad was gonna have a breakout game. As I'd mentioned in the previous podcast, the last 2 weeks been under 25 points and got it. He got 27 points, but I think we were all expecting more. Again, a big shootout with this game. But unfortunately came up a little bit short, and I put short in quotes because he's still putting up decent stats. But overall, he was actually taken over in the MVP rankings by Russell Wilson, according to Vegas. So Russell Wilson having a great year. thus far.
Mhm.
Kyler Murray for Billy completely shut me up. I had mentioned in the previous podcast that Kyler Murray hasn't shown me anything and whatnot, and he went 27 for 37, 340 yards and 3 TDs. So
Yeah.
I'll stay quiet on that.
But the Falcons are also that bad.
Very true. Very true.
They're terrible.
Defensively, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see, for the wide receiver battle, I'm gonna lump this into just one little thing rather than going, our WR1, WR, because it was just so lopsided. The receivers for Billy, Adam Thielen, and Godwin combined for this stat line: 16 catches, 208 yards, 1 TD. Trims or receptions, 3 yards.
3 yards?
Amari Cooper didn't even play
How?
more than 2 series.
Did he have
One
negative
series, 2
yards?
series.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, 4 catches, 3 yards. Look it up. That was
30 yards?
3.
Yeah, 30. No, it has to be 30. Wait, no, you're right. No,
I'm telling you. Yeah.
How many did Amari Cooper have?
He had 1.2 points.
So he had negative yards? I thought
He didn't.
Boyd
Nobody had
had
negative
10
yards.
I thought Boyd had like 10 yards. Catch for 10 yards.
I'm looking right now. Let me take a look.
He had 3 catches for 10 yards.
Oh, that's right. So then, it would have
Still
been
terrible.
Yeah. So 10,
Right.
10 yards, and then Amari Cooper. What do you have? Yeah.
Amari Cooper pulled his hammy and said goodnight. That's what he did.
So there it is.
It sucks.
Yeah, 13 yards. My bad. So either way, huge lopsided victory. Adam Thielen, Godwin got the check mark there. The running back battle, just like the wide receiver battle, in my opinion, had average outings. I'm going to round these into one category here. Royce posting 11.2 points. The big surprise though was Alvin Kamara for Trim having a quiet afternoon again, which usually we're expecting from these top running backs, huge afternoons. But again, any given Sunday, people can scheme for certain running backs. Some running backs get injured. Some just don't play. You get knocked up. You're off a quarter or two. So a quiet afternoon for Kamara.
He has an ankle problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
High
So
ankle.
he was in out of the 10 a little bit during that game. Both running backs, 2s for each team underperformed, with Ito for Billy posting 0.6 points and Chris Thompson putting up 3.7 points for Brad. So very, very quiet with the RB2s. The tight end battle had neither player scoring over 6 points, so pretty irrelevant there. The flex had Hooper running away with it though for Billy, put up 21.8 points. Where Larry Fitz did pretty well, 10.6. So you hope to get in double digits out of your flex, so that's not that bad. But Hooper just showed us all what he can do in that Atlanta offense. Both kickers scored 7 points apiece. Defenses was a bit lopsided. Just as the flex in the wide receiver matchups, Jacksonville putting up 9 points for Billy and -1 points for Trim with Tampa. This matchup, I took Trim, and again, I was wrong. That's twice I've taken the Carpet Munchers and been wrong. So, but Trim now slides to the number 9, where Billy slides up to the number 4 spot.
Nice. God damn it, Trim. Get your shit together.
Okay, so that means the next one up is me, and I get to talk about Jake's team. So, really low scoring game for J-Fed, and a kind of low scoring game for the Balls Deep All-Stars as well. But unfortunately, Jake's quarterback, Jared Goff there, he had a bad day.
Tough.
He had 1.9 points, and you definitely, usually when your quarterback does that, you're gonna lose. I didn't watch that game, but from what I read, apparently their offensive line just disappeared.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff he had little to no time to do anything.
Didn't have anything.
So.
And they got stopped on the goal line 3-4 times. Their offensive line just sucked that game.
Yeah. So what that tells me is, 1, the 49ers are for real. And 2, Jared Goff, well, I'm not going to blame him for that. You really can't do much when you're on your ass the whole game. So
Sure.
that obviously didn't help you at all. And somehow, some way, here I had this pulled up, right? Grono's running backs, Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette. There's bread and butter. They did what they were supposed to do, and that was enough. The other problem you have, Jake, is you have the same problem that I have in the other league, and you have Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon is one of those guys that you drafted so high, right?
Yep.
He's supposed to be an RB1, so you can't sit him. And you put him out there, and he gets scripted out every single week because they're behind. Their offensive line is terrible, and the Giovanni Bernard plays the whole second half. That's what happens. So, the good news is I believe the Bengals get one of their starting linemen. I believe it's left tackle back this week. So hopefully that'll shore up that offensive line a little bit, and Joe Mixon might start doing something for you, but I wouldn't get your hopes up too much.
Yeah, who are they facing? The Bears this week?
Not sure.
Bears play New Orleans this week.
Oh, New Orleans.
It's not the Bears. But I mean, other than that, Galladay beats out Will Fuller. Mohamed Sanu and Brandon Cooks both disappeared. Carrion had a fine day. Philip Lindsay had a fine day too. If Jared Goff shows up, you're right in there.
Yeah.
But he didn't,
But
So-
he didn't.
So kudos to you, Grono. Clearly I didn't pick Grono to win.
I think he did.
Wait, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Never mind. I had that upset. So good job, Keith. Way to go. Sorry, Jake.
Hey man, I had a bad fantasy week in both leagues, so not doing too hot.
Yeah, me too.
But it happens. It happens. So
You lost in the ECE?
yeah, I think I was lowest score in both leagues.
Wow.
'Cause you had a bad day.
It's not a good Sunday at all. So depressed all day.
Yeah.
Just looking for a touchdown. And you pass to Tyler Boyd 3 times. Oh my god. But it's all right. That's why there's 13 weeks and then playoffs. So you just got to get to the playoffs. That's all that matters. But
I believe the next matchup is yours, Jake.
yes, I have Dorf against Jimmy. Scary Terry Sharknado against Kiss the Baby Never Changes His Name or Picture. All right. So for this one, Dorf actually beat Jimmy 119-97.
I believe, Dorf. I believed in you, and you did it.
He did, and I did not believe in him because
No,
I
he
picked
didn't.
Jimmy to win, and he did not. Jimmy lost. So Kiss the Baby currently sits at 5, and Dorf bumped up to the 8 slot. But as far as the matchup goes, pretty much any which way you look at it, I mean, Dorf had his bench was killed it too. So he had Matt Stafford, but Russell Wilson, I believe I had that prediction right. I said Russell Wilson would do better than Matt Stafford. He did, about 20 points better. And then for wide receivers, I picked the wide receivers for Jimmy, which ended up being better as well. Julio Jones had over 100 yards. Pretty much Cooper Kupp was non-existent, but neither was Sharknado or Robert Woods for Dorf.
Yeah.
So, Robert Woods had a rushing touchdown too. That's
Yeah.
all. That's
So
pretty much
random.
all he scored. He didn't have any catches, nothing. He had one rushing touchdown, 16 yards. So that goes to show you how the Rams were that day.
Yeah.
Tough.
But for the running backs, he must have switched this because I don't think he had Coleman in there when I was doing the. Oh yeah, he had Carlos
Yeah, he
Hyde
did.
in there. No, he had Carlos
Oh
Hyde.
wait, yeah.
But either way, Carlos Hyde went off. He actually had more points than Coleman, so it doesn't make a difference. And that's where another big difference was. Another big difference for Dorf was his running backs and his flex, pretty much. So his running backs both of them
Tyreek.
outscored Jimmy's running backs, Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell. Like we were talking about, Tennessee pretty much non-existent. They didn't even score. He only had 28 rushing yards, and that's his bread and butter. So Derrick Henry doesn't get rushing yards, he's not going to score high. He's not going to get a lot of points. Le'Veon Bell had a touchdown and a catch, but he had a slow day against Dallas, especially since they won. He didn't really have a good day. He had 12.2 points, but Coleman had 13.5, and D. Johnson for Arizona had a big day, almost 26 points. He had rushing and receiving touchdowns, so that was big for Dorf. That's a 20-point swing right there.
Wow.
Those running back comparisons, and then that pretty much evens out that quarterback comparison from earlier. And then really the tight ends, Pittsburgh for Vance McDonald, 1 catch, 5 yards. You never know with them as far as their receiving core goes. And Greg Olsen had 4 for 52. Didn't really do much, but outperformed Vance McDonald, so you got a little edge there. But the big one was the flex. Tyreek Hill's back in business, and he had 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 80 yards. And then Howard for Philadelphia for Jimmy didn't really do much. Only had 49 rushing yards. The kicking was almost a push. Jimmy scored a little bit more, and then Washington defense against Miami outperformed Green Bay for Detroit. So pretty much Tyreek Hill and David Johnson won the game for Dorf. Jimmy's been underperforming lately. I don't think the last few weeks he's been breaking 100. So who knows what's going on with Jimmy? But I think Marlon Mack had a bye, and Deshaun Jackson had a bye, or is hurt. So who knows?
Yeah, he's had that abdomen thing for a bit. I mean, he's
only played 1 week, so he's been out 5 weeks. D. Jackson. But I did not get that prediction correct at all. So there you go. 0 for 2 this week. I am.
The last matchup of the week, but most certainly not the least. First, I think we should all just kind of apologize to Don because we pretty much all wrote him off, and he won, and he beat Trickus, which is even better. So, sorry, Don. I got faith in you.
He's got a couple wins now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Dude, that Deshaun Watson trade he did with Casey
Watson
that helped
trade
him out
was huge for him. He finally had some people popping off. He had Golden Tate show up. Nick Chubb had a day. Deshaun Watson had a day. And the Carolina kicker had 17 points, which is definitely a day. Sly. So
awesome last name.
Which Trickus actually had a decent day. 113 points is about he probably will beat a lot of other people, including myself. So that's a decent day. But Gardner Minshew just did not play well. Aaron Jones goes from scoring 4 touchdowns and 100+ yards to just under 8 points. And it's going to be like that the rest of the season as long as Jamal Williams is healthy. They're going to split carries. Aaron Jones dropped a touchdown. I remember watching that game, and he fumbled. And they were just like, sorry, dude, it's Jamal time. And that's going to happen.
Off.
Yeah. So that obviously hurt him. And, Christian McCaffrey did what he's been doing all year. Had put up 20 points. So he did what he's expected. But Don just had enough people popping off where he got the win. And I'm happy for you. Keep it up. Just I hope you lose to me whenever we play. And I got this one wrong because I know that I did not pick Don to win this game. I don't think anybody did.
Yeah,
I did. I did for sure.
No, you didn't, dude.
So enjoy it, buddy.
Shut up, bro. No, you did not. Well, that leaves the prediction records as follows. Myself, 1 and 3. Nico, 1 and 3. Keith, 1-3.
Oh man, we're really
We're
good.
really
Pretty
good at this.
much.
Yeah,
We
we're really
suck.
good.
We suck at predicting clearly, and a lot of players that we say are going to suck this week go off.
They go off.
So, I think this is just like anything else. The more we do it, the better we'll get at predicting. But, we're not gamblers. We're not making money in Vegas all the time. And this is clearly why, because we don't know how to predict anything.
We lose people's money. That's what we do.
Oh, man. And that brings us to our next segment, which is Power Rankings.
Power Rankings.
All right. So for the Power Rankings, just like normal, we will do our top 6. Everybody will review their top 6, and then we'll do the consensus top 12 overall. And I will start. So for the Power Rankings, there was a bit of shakeup this week as far as power rankings go. I had a lot of movement in mine, and I spent a lot of focus on points and just how their team performed overall, along with the record. So my top 6 are as follows. I have number 1, Seabass. I think he's 4-2. I think he could be 6-0. I mean, he has the most points scored and then the most points scored against him. So, and he has a 4-2 record. So that just goes to show you how strong and consistent his team has been. But then I have Kraft's Rub Route. I'm putting him up there because, again, he's got a good record and he has a lot of points. So until his team doesn't put up over 100 plus, 10 plus points a week, then he should stay up there. Then I have Friar Douglas, number 3. Blue Jesus Chicken Wing. Number 4. The Juice is Loose, number 5. I'm actually showing Billy some love. He's been.
I like Billy's team
good.
too.
He's been doing good recently, so I put him up in that 5 spot. And then 6, I have Carpet Munchers. I still think that he has the most potential. And, I also want to point out Asterix, Jimmy is out of my top 6, and I currently had him 1 last week. So that's how big of a shakeup this week.
Oh, how the Jimmies have fallen.
This week has been, but his team, I don't know if what's going on, but he hasn't been performing. And I looked back, and he won a couple close games, so he very well could have
I know what's going on.
A worse record than he actually does.
It's because Jimmy's favorite person on the planet is LeBron James, and LeBron James is a communist sympathizer.
Bro, he's getting motivated by money. That's it. All money.
So all that bad juju
has
entered into Jimmy's atmosphere, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, and neither does his fantasy team.
That could be true. That could very well be true. But that rounds out my top 6.
All right, we'll head over to. I believe I'm next, right?
Yep.
So I'll take over here. For my top 6, we sort of have the same here, Jake. My top, I put myself, which again I always laugh putting myself at number 1. But again, just piggybacking off of what you had said, I put up the most points, and I mean I like my team up and down. Obviously, there's question marks with the tight end now that Disley's out, so that's going to be something that I'm going to have to overcome. Number 2, I put Keith, Kraft's Rub Route. The guy's got some talent on his team, no doubt about it. Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas, I love both of those 2 wide receivers. That's just a lethal 1-2 punch. Azul, Jesus, Chicken Wing. I have
Nice.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I had Friar Douglas at 3. I kept Trickus at 3 there. I like his team up and down. And again, the biggest question mark for him, which I think it was you, Keith, that said Aaron Jones. What are we going to get with him week in, week out?
Can he score 20 touchdowns?
Yeah, or is
That's what he's going to have to do.
Or is he going to drop a TD pass and then get pulled or something? So it depends what happens. 4, I kept Kiss the Baby there. I do like his roster up and down. Then 5, I have Blue Jesus Chicken Wing. I like Casey's team. And then Carpet Munchers to round out my number 6, because, again, when you have Patrick Mahomes, who can go off for anywhere from 30 to 40 points in our league too, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Alvin Kamara in that New Orleans offense. And again, once they start getting Drew Brees back, when's he due back? Does anyone know the timetable for him?
Not soon.
Not soon.
I think it's going to be at least a few more games.
Yeah.
Maybe towards the end of fantasy, maybe a few games, 3-4 games, hopefully for him.
And I know New Orleans just signed another running back too. So again, that's going to be a little bit tentative number 6 for Carpet Munchers, because depending on how injured Alvin Kamara gets, hopefully he doesn't, hopefully he avoids the injury bug. But I'm going to keep him at number 6 there.
Yeah.
Nice.
So as for myself, I have Seabass Nikko at 1.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, you've scored the most points, and you've had the most points scored against you while being at the number 1 spot. So your team obviously is doing what it needs to do. You were solid at every position until Disley went down. Mm-hmm. So obviously that doesn't help team morale, but it's not like tight ends are also making or breaking teams this year. Even Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz they both had down weeks. So, it's not like nobody's Gronk this year, That's
True.
what I'm trying to say. So it might be something that you'll be able to overcome. 2, I have Kiss the Baby. I like his team. He's got a solid running back stable. Just like anybody else in our league, besides myself, he's got questions at tight end. So, but I really think at the end of the year, tight end is not going to be that big of a factor. He's got Marlon Mack just chilling. So, I see a lot of potential in this team. 3, I have myself. Obviously, Juju. My poor Juju. I don't even think they tried to throw the ball. So hopefully Mason Rudolph comes back and is healthy. But even with Mason Rudolph back, I don't know. And when you got Tom Brady vulturing touchdowns from Sony Michel twice, that obviously doesn't help. But my team also at the same time on a good week has the potential to go off and be the highest scoring team in the league. So we'll see. Number 4, I have Friar Douglas. He has really great depth, and he has the best fantasy player currently going right now in Christian McCaffrey. And anytime you have a person like that on your team, it helps. 5, I have Blue Jays Chicken Wing. He's just got a solid team all around. And unlike the teams before him, that Kittle trade that he made, he's got somebody like a solid starter at every single position. His team has a lot of potential, and I like it. That's why I got him at 5. And number 6, I got the juice is loose, squeaking into there. He has been capitalizing on Godwin all year, which despite what Mike Evans does, Godwin always does Godwin. And he gets Saquon back. That's only going to help him. So he starts at 6. We'll see where Saquon takes him for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That is true. So that is everybody's top 6 as far as the consensus goes for all 12 power rankings. It is as follows. We have Seabass, number 1, Crafts Rub Route, Friar Douglas, Kiss the Baby, Blue Jesus Chicken Wing, The Juice is Loose. That's the top 6 consensus. Then we have Carpet Munchers, Scary Terry Sharknado, Sean Archer, Balls Deep All-Stars, J Fed, and Don Juan 08. So Don Juan's still rolling out the bottom as far as power rankings go, but he is up in the standings, and that's what's more important to fantasy.
The little Don that could.
And number 1 in our hearts. Come on now.
Obviously.
Number 1 in our hearts for sure. But that wraps up the power rankings topic. Now we got to go on to the last topic of the night, and that is current matchups and predictions for Week 7.
Matchups and predictions.
All right, so for week 7, we are going to quickly review the matchups and then make our predictions. Keith, as usual, make sure you write down those positions or those predictions for us. That way we can see how we do for next week. All right, Keith, take it on.
Okay, 1 second here, boys. Okay, so the first matchup that I have is yourself, Jake, versus Nikko. You guys are playing with each other. Nerds. Okay, so I stared at this one for a long time. And the position that I was staring at was quarterback. Jared Goff goes to Atlanta in what should be a redemption game for him because, as we saw, Kyler Murray just diced their secondary for I don't know how many yards and touchdowns, but a lot. So you would assume, based on the numbers, that Jared Goff could do the same thing. Carson Wentz is a solid quarterback. He's been playing very well. And he's going into Dallas, but Dallas's secondary is not playing that well. Sam Darnold came in and he did his thing. Hit Robbie Anderson deep, got exposed. So I would not be scared to start Carson there. That being said, I initially picked Carson here. And then I scratched him off and I picked Jared Goff in the redemption game. I'm leaning towards Jared on that one. Next, Julian Edelman, Kenny Golladay. I'm going Julian. The Patriots wide receivers around Julian are banged up. Tom Brady doesn't seem to really trust anybody besides Julian. His numbers, he's trending upwards. I think that trend continues. I think Julian gets the nod in that one. Devontae gets the nod over Auden Tate. Obviously, if he plays, which I don't know his current status, is he projected to play?
He is. Auden Tate. He's the number one besides Tyler Boyd because he's usually getting covered. Oh, Devon Turf Toe. I don't know.
We don't know. If he plays, he beats out Auden Tate because
I think that he's obviously still questionable as far as if he plays. I think he has a chance.
Okay. Well, you better hope he plays.
Well, they just signed a wide receiver too, Green Bay.
Yeah, they did. Well. They brought in Ryan Grant. Yeah. So that's not good news. But we'll see. Auden Tate, despite Cincinnati's just terrible offense, has been putting up decent numbers. So I think he's got a solid floor there. So he's not going to have a terrible day. But I just don't expect anything very high from that Bengals offense. So I gave the nod to Devontae, assuming that he's going to play. I got Chris Carson over Kerryon Johnson. Chris Carson had a wonderful day this past weekend. I think he keeps that up. Home versus Baltimore. They're feeding him the rock, and he is showing what he can do with it. Jamal Williams versus Philip Lindsay. I gave the nod to Philip there just because Philip, he touches the ball more. But Jamal does catch more passes than Philip, I believe. So it'll be close. I just gave a slight edge to Philip there. Delaney Walker and I don't even know the dude's first name. Knox for Buffalo.
Dawson,
yeah.
Dawson Creek.
So they're playing Miami, which means any number of Buffalo Bills players could go off this weekend.
Yep.
Maybe even all of them. But odds of all of them going off are slim to none. Hopefully he's one of them. So this is definitely a game where you feel good about streaming him. Delaney Walker, you don't feel good about starting any Tennessee Titans pass catchers at all. So I gave this slight edge to the Bills tight end there, just because of the high ceiling potential of that game. In the flex position, We got Joe Mixon versus Miles Sanders. Being a Joe Mixon owner in the other league, I can't pick him. I just can't do it.
That's good enough. That's good reason enough.
Just because I've literally watched almost every Bengals game this season praying for Joe Mixon to get in the end zone, and it never happens. So, Miles Sanders, he catches a bunch of screens and shit. They throw him the ball. PPR, that's what you want. I gave the slight edge to Miles. So, in summation, in a controversial decision, I am going to pray that Devontae plays, and I'm going to take Jake in the upset.
Wow.
Don't let me down, buddy.
This would be the week to do it because James Conner's on a bye and Odell Beckham are on a bye.
He's got you on the bye, so if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen this week.
Yeah,
but,
top running back, top wide receiver out, so it's our number wide receiver 2 and top running back out. So you got a chance, Jake. You got a chance.
But so if Devontae doesn't play, you got to start Mohamed Sanu or Dede Westbrook, and both of those are not fun to start. So good luck, buddy.
Well, I just hope I score more than 65 points.
Yeah, you can't do much worse.
That's all I hope for. So, all right. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Keith. Appreciate it.
Don't let me down.
All right. I'll head over to my matchup. I had Blue Jesus Chicken Wing versus Friar Douglas. Casey versus Trickus. Looking at the quarterback battle here, Tom Brady versus the New York Jets defense and Kirk Cousins against the Detroit's defense. Both defenses, New York Jets and Detroit, are middle of the road. They usually can put up a pretty good fight against a quarterback. I like Kirk Cousins in this. He's coming alive now. I think all that criticism he was taking about, is he a good quarterback? Was he a waste of money? Minnesota's just a run-first offense, no pass threat at all. And he shut people up the last 2 weeks against the New York Giants and Philly, putting up some decent numbers. As of recent against Philly, 333 yards, 4 TDs. So the guy's waking up, and I think he's going to show up in this NFC North battle. So I'm going to take Kirk Cousins the edge for Friar Douglas there. Wide receivers, D. Hopkins against Indiana's defense and Tyler Lockett against Baltimore's. This one, I know Hopkins is projected more, about 15.3 points, Tyler Lockett 12.6. I like the way, both quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Watson, who they're throwing it to. This one honestly could go either way, but I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Lockett. I think Lockett's going to have a big day against Baltimore. He's always that deep threat. Russell Wilson's throwing the ball better than anybody. So I like Lockett in this one. Wide receiver 2s, Gallup versus Sutton. That's a no-brainer, Sutton. Cortland Sutton has been playing out of his mind in Denver, and nothing against Gallup and Dallas. I like Dak Prescott. He's very good at finding his receivers, pretty accurate, but Cortland Sutton's been playing out of his mind in Denver, and he's coming along well. So that's 3 check marks so far for Friar Douglas. The running backs, I like Mark Ingram against Seattle's D. Devontae Freeman against the Rams front that's nice too, but again, they have a timeshare there with Ito Smith. Although it was all Devontae Freeman last game, Ito Smith put up nothing. I like Mark Ingram here. Running backs, Aaron Jones and Williams. Again, this is tough. Both guys had very quiet games last week. But against the Denver D versus Oakland's D, I think Williams is going to do something here. I think he's going to wake up. He's going to get a little bit more than one rushing attempt and more than one reception, hopefully. So I like Williams there. So, battle the running backs. I'll go to Blue Jesus. Tight ends, this honestly could be a toss-up too. Two very good tight ends, Evan Ingram and Kittle. But I'm gonna go ahead and side with the New York Giants against Arizona's D. Oh, the Washington D's very nice too, but I like Evan Ingram. For the flexes, Kirk versus Brown. Again, as you had mentioned, Keith, anyone going against the Miami's defense has a chance of going off. And I'm going to take Brown on this one. I think Brown has a definite good chance of doing something against Miami's porous defense. Kickers, toss-up, and defenses, toss-up. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to Friar Douglas on this. I think he's going to get the upset as the number 6 seed over Casey's team, the number 3. So Friar Douglas gets the win on this one.
Wow, Friar Douglas. All right.
I'm gonna make it official too. I actually just clicked on picking him in our league. You know how you can select the weeks to win. So I made it
You're
official.
so cool, dude.
I know, right? That was a good idea.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
so smart. You're just
Right.
smart.
So the third matchup that we'll be reviewing is Sean Archer versus Don Juan 08. 12 against 10.
Gonna be a barn burner, y'all.
So
Hold on to your hats.
I'll go through this real quick as far as the matchup goes because Quinto, unfortunately, has the bye bug this week. Jarvis Landry has a bye. Ronald Jones II has a bye. Nick Chubb has a bye. So he's got a lot of players that do have a bye, and that's obviously hurting his projections, number one, and then obviously his chances, in my opinion. So as far as the quarterback goes, I have a wash. Don Juan's got D. Watson going against the Colts, and then Basil's got Lamar Jackson at Seattle. So I'm going to put that down as a wash. Both are obviously great quarterbacks. I think they're 2 and 4 in rankings as far as points going for fantasy. So I'll give that one a wash. And then as far as wide receivers, Basil's got Ridley for the Falcons and Williams for Oakland. And then Don Juan's got AJ Green and Golden Tate. So
Is AJ gonna play?
I don't think so.
He didn't practice this
I
week.
pretty much think Quinto just got him
hasn't-
in there because he doesn't have anybody on his bench. And he's really hurting this week. I don't think AJ Green plays. And even if he does play, it'll probably be, snap count. I don't know. I don't think he's fully prepared. But
No, I don't think he's there.
I do like Golden Tate against Arizona. Patrick Peterson usually guards the outside threat, and that's probably going to be Slayton this week for the Giants. Golden Tate will probably play the slot, and so he'll probably get the second, DB.
Danny Dimes, baby.
So I think he's actually going to have a good game. But overall, I'm going to give the nod to Basla as far as Ridley and Williams for the wide receiver. So Basla gets that nod. And then for running backs, Quinto's playing right now Breida and Johnson. So Breida for his 49ers and Johnson for Houston against Zeke Elliott and Melvin Gordon. Obviously, I love Zeke. He's playing primetime Sunday night. And Breida does have a good matchup, though. 49ers are the real deal, and they're playing the Redskins.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm going to give the nod to Basla as far as the running backs go. And then Quinto is playing D. Waller. That's, I think, his best player this week. Maybe Breida goes off. But Basil's got Travis Kelce. So I'm going with Travis Kelce. I'm always going to go with Travis Kelce. I don't care about anything else. So that's a nod for him. And then as far as flex go, right now Quinto's is empty. He doesn't have anybody in his flex.
He doesn't have anybody to put in his flex.
AJ Green's probably not going to play, and he has one person on the bench, which is Font for the tight end for Denver. So he's hurting. He's hurting this week. Even his kicker has a bye. So he's got some. I don't even know. He's probably just gonna call it a wash and just not even do anything to it. I don't know what he's doing. This is not a good week for him. And Basil's got Jacobs playing anyways for Oakland at Green Bay. So I think that flex position, I give that nod to Basila compared to anybody that Quinto finds on the waivers. So
Yeah.
And then as far as kicking, I'm just gonna give it a wash. They'll probably find somebody on the waivers, and then defense is a wash as well. But actually, defense, if he puts the Bears in against New Orleans, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna give it a wash too. Give it a wash. The Rams did just get Ramsey, so we'll see if he plays well for them this week. But overall, that's pretty much all the nods for Basla. And I have a victory for Joseph, for Sean Archer.
Makes sense. All right. So my next matchup here is the Juice is Loose versus Kiss the Baby. Quarterback matchup, Russell Wilson home versus Baltimore. Kyler Murray in the Meadowlands versus the Giants. Closer. I think that'll be a close one. Kyle Murray is playing really well, and he's essentially a tinier, inexperienced version of Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson is also probably the best quarterback in the league right now, and that shows up in his fantasy play too. So I give the slight nod to Russell Wilson on that one. Adam Thielen and Julio Jones. Both dudes are sink or swim at this point. Julio has had good games, and he's also disappeared. So is Adam Thielen. I think Julio has a sort of redemption game. I gave this week home versus the Rams. I think that ends up being a shootout, and I think Julio sees more points because of it. So I gave the slight nod there. Allen Robinson versus Cooper Kupp. Same deal. I think Cooper reaps the benefits of that game. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. So moving on to running backs, Derrick Henry versus Royce Freeman. Given how dismal Tennessee's offense is, normally anytime last year you'd be like Derrick Henry all day. This year, I just gave that a straight up wash. I think both of those running backs are just, put their head down, run forward, fall down, and that's what both their teams do. Joe Flacco is just a little bit more competent quarterback. Ito Smith, Le'Veon Bell, slight nod to Le'Veon. I don't know what Ito Smith's role is, really. It seemed like they want to sprinkle him in more, and then he disappeared. So I don't really think Atlanta knows what the hell they're doing, to be honest. It's just Matt Ryan throw the ball a lot. So Billy this week has to start Zach Ertz and Austin Hooper in his flex, so he's rolling with the 2 tight end, which is an interesting strategy.
Think he did that last week.
He did, and it worked for him.
And it paid off for him. And versus Vance McDonald, who doesn't have a game, so Jimmy doesn't have a tight end right now to play.
He's got to battle Quinto for one.
Yeah. So that's terrible. And Jordan Howard, he's I don't know, he's all right. He's just like so many other running backs in the league. He's touchdown dependent. He's good. He's good for 50 yards no matter what, but that doesn't help you unless he gets in the end zone. So I'm going to give somehow, some way, the nod in that section to Billy with his 2 tight ends. So overall, I am going to go with Billy continuing his win streak, especially if Saquon plays. If Saquon plays, it's a lot easier win for Billy. Kiss the Baby's got some things to figure out at some positions. Yep. And but that being said, every time I pick against Jimmy, he wins by 3 points somehow. So that'll probably happen again.
3.16.
Yeah, something stupid. But I'm giving Billy the nod this week.
All right, so you got Billy.
Not bad. All right, I'll go next. I have, for my next and last matchup here for me, I had Balls Deep All Stars versus Scary Terry at Sharknado, John versus Dorf. For the quarterback battle here, Matt Stafford and Garoppolo, both solid quarterbacks, but going against a Washington's defense, especially when you have a really good running game where you can work in that play action, it opens things up a little bit easier for a quarterback to complete passes. So I'm going to give Jimmy G the nod on this one. Wide receivers, pair of LA Rams going up against each other. Cooks versus Woods. Both are obviously, top 3 targets to Jared Goff. Sort of piggybacking off of what you were saying, Keith, with Goff going off, feeling really butthurt about that game last week, and then going into Atlanta in the dome, controlled setting, no weather to play a factor in. I think it's going to be a shootout, Matty Ice versus Goff. It just, who's going to benefit? Is it going to be Woods, Cooks? Is it going to be Kupp? Is it going to be Everett? You never know with those pass catchers. I'm gonna go. This is a toss-up. I'm gonna go Cooks. I feel Cooks. I like it over Woods. For the wide receivers, Tyreek Hill. I like T.Y. Hilton, but Tyreek Hill, you saw what he did coming back against Houston after being gone. The guy, he's a cheetah. They call him the cheetah for a reason. The dude's quick. He gets behind the secondary, and he can catch passes and get into the end zone. So Tyreek Hill gets the nod there, no brainer. Running backs, Dalvin Cook versus D. Johnson. Wow, 2 solid running backs again. Very hard to pick between these two. I like Dalvin Cook. We know Minnesota has a passing game now. Kirk Cousins is taking a little bit pressure and making Minnesota less one-dimensional. And I think that's going to benefit Dalvin Cook because people, secondary, they're going to start putting, 6, 7, 8 guys in the box, and they'll start anticipating more for the pass. And that's where Dalvin Cook can cut people apart and run between the tackles and get yardage. Not saying that David Johnson can't do that against New York, but I think Cook's going to come out and outperform D. Johnson. For the running back twos, Leonard Fournette against Cincinnati's defense and Coleman against Washington. Again, sort of like anyone playing Miami, anyone playing Washington can usually have a pretty good game. But I like Leonard Fournette. I think the running backs here go straight to John. John's got some solid running backs with Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette. Tight ends, this was an easy one. Again, I know for Dorf, he usually has Greg Olsen playing his tight end, and he's on a bye. And Herndon I don't even think he's going to be playing this week. That all signs are pointing to no. So even though he's projected for 3.38 points, Dorf, I don't know if that tight end's playing. So I think you're going to be battling with everyone. Who else doesn't have a tight end? Quinto and
Quinto's got a tight end, but he needs 3 players, and Jimmy needs a tight end.
So he'll be battling with him.
Who has 2 tight ends?
You.
Weird.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. Everyone ignore that. Disregard that comment.
I got Delaney Walker.
Let's see here.
Nice.
And then, so definitely Everett gets the check mark there. Again, being an LA Rams offense with Jared Goff, yes, he can be controlled and completely get shut down as he did in San Fran, but he can also go off and throw over 500 yards at any given time. So Everett gets the check mark there. The flexes, Fuller versus Chark. Chark against Cincinnati, Will Fuller. We've seen what Will Fuller can do, especially if people start scoping in on DeAndre Hopkins, which a lot of defenses are doing. It's making things open up for Fuller, so I'm going to give Fuller the check mark. Kickers, wash. I never really care about kickers. Unless you really have Tucker, who I have on my team, who's the man. It really doesn't matter. Kickers, even with Tucker, it's always a toss-up. And defenses, Buffalo's D against Miami, San Fran's against Washington. Although San Fran's no pushover, we can see what we know what they can do. And again, both teams are playing like Miami and Washington. They're both awful. I like. Oh wow. You know what? Give me San Fran against Washington. Miami and Buffalo is such a huge rivalry. They hate each other. I mean, they hate each other with a passion. So I think Miami won't
Probably
make
be a
it
close
as
game.
easy as Buffalo. Exactly. So I'm gonna go San Fran against Washington's offense.
Fitz magic.
Yeah, check mark overall. I'm gonna give this one to John. John's gonna continue on here, maybe possibly
Wow.
7th position. Sorry, Dwarf, but yeah, I'm gonna go with John on this one. Balls deep, all stars.
Wow, ball deep, all stars. All right. So that leaves to the final matchup review before we get going on Week 7 podcast, and that is Kraft's Rub Route against Carpet Munchers. So I actually think this is a really, really good matchup this week, and I think Brad's team is underperforming as far as his record goes. I really do think he's got a solid team. So I think overall Keith's team is better. But if we break it down position by position for this week specifically, Brad's got Patrick Mahomes against Matt Ryan. I'm always going to go Patrick Mahomes. He's been not inconsistent, but he hasn't been at the top.
I think he's hurt.
He could be. Yeah, he definitely could be hurt. He's tweaked his ankle a couple weeks ago, but we'll see. I'm going to give him the nod. Tyreek Hill's back. He's got he's getting into more shape as well, so we'll give him the nod. And then we got the wide receivers. So wide receivers for Trim, Tyler Boyd, Jeffrey, then Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas. And I was really looking at this as far as matchups and everything, and I'm actually giving it a wash this week. Michael Thomas, they're playing the Bears. Bears got solid defense. Who knows what's going to happen with them? He's not as consistent without Breeze in the lineup. Keenan Allen, I think he'll have a good game. They're playing at Tennessee, but again, it's an away game, so you never know. And then Tyler Boyd is playing home against Jacksonville. They don't have Ramsey anymore, so I think Tyler Boyd's overdue. He had a bad week last week. I think he can have a good week. And then Jeffrey's playing, Cowboys, prime time. So that's going to be a close game. Jeffrey could. He's the veteran over there. When it comes down to it, they're going to throw him the ball. So I think that's actually going to be a wash. And then as far as running back goes, I think running back's going to be a wash too. And that's why it's tough, because I was looking at this and he's Alvin Kamara, but he's hurt and he's playing the Bears, who are great, especially if they pack the box with Mac and everything. So and Kamara's hurt, so that kind of you don't know what's going on with him. And then D. Montgomery against the Saints. Montgomery's decent as far as he's the number one running back, but he doesn't get too many carries. Last week he had 11, and he's sprinkling a couple catches. I think he's one of the ones where if he gets a touchdown, he gets over 10 points. So that's going to be touchdown dependent there. And then the other end, you have Austin Eckler against Tennessee. I like that matchup. And then I like Sony Michel against the Jets. But at the same time, who are they going to give the ball to on the goal line? I mean, this week it could be Rex Burkhead with 3 touchdowns.
Or Tom Brady.
Or Tom Brady or James White for a pass, or,
fullback dive.
Right.
Devlin. Yeah,
so you never really know, but I do like the matchup. And that's why it's kind of a wash there. Austin Eckler, I don't know what's going on with Gordon. It's still a question mark. He didn't have a good week last week in Pittsburgh. He only got the ball 5 times for rushes, and he didn't get a lot of catches last week. So that's a wash. And then I do give the nod to Keith for the tight end. Andrews against Jimmy Graham. I think Andrews is really, really good tight end, and Lamar Jackson, likes him. He gets 8 targets a game, and he catches 5 or more. He has a great game. Could score a touchdown, but he gets 8 targets, and that's big, especially for the tight end. Jimmy Graham, he's just very touchdown dependent. He gets like 4 targets a game, probably 3-4 targets a game. So I'm definitely giving the edge to Andrews there. And then as far as flex goes, he's got Trim's got Larry Fitz at the Giants, and then Crowder at New England. I do like Crowder, and so does oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? The quarterback.
Sam Darnold.
So does Sam Darnold. He actually likes him too. He gets a lot of targets. But I'm going to go with Larry Fitz, old man Larry against the Giants. I think he is still killing it, and nobody seems to mention it, that he's still in the league, dominating, getting 5 catches a game. But I'm going to go him against the Giants, and then the kickers are a wash, and Trim doesn't have a defense, but once he picks one up, I think that'll be a wash as well. But overall, I'm giving the slight edge to Trim right now. As far as running backs go, who knows what's going to happen with Kamara? He might have to put one of the Washington running backs in, and that's not good for my prediction. But if Kamara plays, I think the running back's a wash, so I'm going to give the edge to Trim. I think he gets a win this week. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, so in summation, Jake, you have Sean Archer and Carpet Munchers winning this week. Nikko, you have Friar Douglas and the Balls Deep All-Stars winning this week. And myself, I have J-Fed and the Juice is Loose winning this week.
That is correct. So those are our predictions. Hopefully we're all right. Hopefully we all even up. 3-3 next week.
So before we go, I have a question for both of you. Did you both watch the Monday night game, the Lions versus the Packers?
I heard about it. All those calls.
I did not.
So I watched the whole game, and there was 3 defining moments in this game, and each one of these moments were decided by the referees in that they blew a blatant call. One was where they called a touchdown where he was clearly down on the 1-yard line, and then 2 face masks on the Lions D end, which proved to be advantageous for the Packers in the best way possible. It allowed for them to win the game. And that being said, the question I have for each of you is, 1, what, if anything, should be done for 2 referees when they blow calls like that to that magnitude in a game? And 2, when you witness something like that, does it make you lean more towards the idea that these games are rigged?
You want to tackle this one first, Jake, or me?
Yeah, as far as obviously it stinks to watch as a fan, to see teams lose or win a game based off of something the ref might have done wrong. And I think that the refs, especially this year, though, they have a lot of pressure on them, tons of pressure, especially with they have to make all these calls, and then all of a sudden they don't, and the NFL is really on their ass about certain things. So there's a lot of pressure on them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to do their job, but I do think that it sucks that obviously games get swayed one way or another. As far as how to fix it, I have no idea. I guess give them. We already review. They already get to throw the flag for certain reviews. So it's tough. I have no idea as far as you're never going to be 100%. So maybe if it is something that drastic, where they're getting that many plays wrong that are so games swinging one way or another, then maybe there's something going on as far as the game being thrown. But I have no idea. It happened before, obviously, in sports, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. But I have no idea.
I think what I saw, and this isn't my original idea, I saw that it was suggested by several people on Twitter and whatnot, because obviously there was a lot of people pissed about this whole outcome. Trey Flowers getting, I mean, those were third down. One was a sack. I mean, it would have been turnover, punt. Detroit gets the ball back. I mean, that was a lot of people emotional about that, and rightfully so. I mean, they even apologized to Mrs. Ford. They sent out letters to her. Like, a lot of people knew this was rigged. Even Booger was live, with he was very
he
loud
called
about
it out live on television. He was pissed.
And the solution that a lot of people have come up with have said, I forgot the term, they said like an overseer judge, an overhead judge that is live, like one guy, he's overseeing the whole game in the stadium. I forgot the term that they used. I saw it on Twitter, like an overseer or overhead judge. He makes a determination on those calls, and he's anonymous. He's up and he will say live, like, what? Okay, no, that's pick that flag up. That is not. It wasn't illegal hands to the face. His hand was on his chest pad. That was one solution that a lot of people I saw several times on that.
Yeah, I like that. It's gonna elongate the game, I think, which is fine. If you want to get the calls right, something else is gonna have to change. But how when they go into a huddle.
Yeah, I mean, but I think this would be quick. It's
right.
very quick.
I'm saying once they go into the huddle, like, oh, what was the call? They just listen in, and the guy quickly reviews it, and he says, no flag. Pick that flag up. Or yes, that was a holding.
Yeah, and I think what's brought this whole case to the forefront is they've, obviously the rules that we've all seen, coaches can challenge pass interference calls, and I think that's also added gas to the fire because I know myself, I can't speak for either of you, but I'm sure you've seen a game where the coach will throw a flag. I think Doug Peterson threw one in the game with the Cowboys. I forgot what game they were playing, but it was blatant pass interference. I was like, I'm actually going to see one be overturned. And they were like, no, not pass interference. And everyone in the I think it was Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, they were like, people just don't know what pass interference is anymore. Like, guys are throwing smart coaches.
There's no amount of consistency with that.
Yeah, so I think that's also fueling the fire here with this whole refs blowing, so I think the outcome or the best solution, I would probably go with that overseer judge, someone that's anonymous that says, in that huddle, no, don't even talk about it. I'm looking at it right now. Pick that flag up. Trey Flowers did not do illegal hands to the face. Fourth down for Green Bay. For your second question of do you think more and more that stuff is rigged? 100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's Monday Night Football. It's in Lambeau. They're a storied program. And let's be serious, there's a lot more Packers fans than Lions fans. And people like Green Bay over Detroit. It's a no-brainer. And I think that really showed it. I mean, there was so many instances. I think even when they were down, they didn't even have any points. They were down. There was there was too many men on the field for Detroit on that. They called a penalty on that, and then that literally, that prolonged the drive. They got a touchdown out of it, and then when it turns around, Detroit got called Green Bay had too many men on the field. They didn't get called for it. So that was an instance. It just doesn't seem fair. And in some cases, that happens. It makes you think. So,
true.
Yeah.
I agree.
Me personally, I'll make it quick. My opinion on the whole matter is if we're going to spend all this time with replays and technologies and have all these people looking in, then get the call right. If you're going to have that many eyes on a play, then get it right. Yeah. And they didn't multiple times. So you can't be anything but pissed at that.
True.
So and I'm with you, Nico. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's got to be some amount of control to that. I just don't believe, to what extent, I don't know. I just don't believe that it's all left up to chance, all that money that's flying around, especially on a primetime Monday night game. And I think what we saw happen with those refs was just a little bit of a peek behind the veil there. And they weren't yeah, it's possible. And that's, I guess, my stance on the whole matter.
Word. All right, boys. So that wraps up Week 7. Great episode today. And good luck to everybody out there. And adios.
Love you all. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.